Hello everyone, this is Taylor Peters, and this presentation involves linking multifunctional landscapes to embeddedness. To start off, we're going to define what multifunctional landscapes are and what embeddedness actually means. O'Farrell and Anderson define multifunctional landscapes as landscapes that are created and managed to integrate human production and landscape use into the ecological fabric of a landscape, maintaining critical ecosystem function, service flows, and biodiversity retention. Multifunctional landscapes simultaneously provide food, security, livelihood opportunities, maintenance of species and ecological functions, and fulfill cultural, aesthetic, and recreational needs. That is the basic definition of multifunctional landscapes. However, I will go into more detail and explain them further later on in the presentation. So what is embeddedness? Well, embeddedness refers to social connectivity, trust, and other dimensions of social life and community collaboration that function to produce conditions conducive to social action. And this is in contrast to disembeddedness, which refers to the lifting out of social relations from the context of interaction. It is important to note that there are disembedding forces that result in community failure, and these failures can lead to a tragedy of the common. However, it's important to highlight the word community because it's more of a community failure than it is an economic failure. And the term, the tragedy of the commons, or phrase, has become a folk and academic explanation for many social and environmental problems. Also, as we've learned and discussed in class, social interaction is a central element of community, and communities with strong social bonds have the capacity to more effectively manage and monitor the use of natural resources. That is why embeddedness is such an important aspect of multifunctional landscapes. So my thesis for this paper is multifunctional landscapes produce conditions within the community that are conducive to social action such as solidarity, trust, and equality. And even in communities with weak social bonds, the process of embedding will ensue because multifunctional landscapes have the ability to satisfy a multitude of social and cultural groups, as well as connecting people with nature. Therefore, community failure and the tragedy of the commons can be avoided or at least mitigated through the implementation of multifunctional landscapes. Alright, so another important aspect or component of multifunctional landscapes are ecosystem services. Ecosystem services are ecological processes and functions that sustain and improve human well-being, which can range from food production to recreational aspects. And these services can be divided into four categories. The first one is provisioning services, or ecosystems that provide food, timber, medicines, and other useful products. The second category is regulating services, such as flood control and climate stabilization. The third category is supporting services such as pollination, soil formation, and water purification. And the fourth one is cultural services, which are aesthetic, spiritual, or recreational assets that provide both intangible benefits and tangible ones, such as ecotourism attractions. Therefore, the inclusion of ecosystem services in the implementation of multifunctional urban and agricultural landscapes is paramount, because these communities depend on the key components of biodiversity and ecosystem services that are found in non-domestic habitats. As I mentioned earlier, ecosystem services are the underpinnings of multifunctional landscapes. However, in order to truly embed communities, other human dimensions such as values and economic development must be considered when designing multifunctional landscapes. The functions of The functions of landscapes vary temporally and spatially as environments and social dynamics change. Also, as we've learned throughout the class, communities are unique and have diverse social and environmental characteristics, and even defining what a community is problematic. Therefore, bottom-up, locally driven landscape development is fundamental to maximizing embeddedness within the community. However, there's at least one case where bottom-up, locally driven landscape development has failed a community. As a consequence, there is no general rule that can be used when designing multifunctional landscapes. The next thing we're going to talk about is virtuous circles. And virtuous circles embody multifunctional landscapes. They are positive feedback loops that enhance natural, human, social, cultural, political, and financial assets in nature. They increase our understanding of rural multifunctional landscapes. The model connects agricultural producers to markets and brokers for ecological services through joint production of agricultural commodities and non-commodity outputs, such as ecological services. On the next slide, we're going to take a look at hypothetical causal links within a multifunctional landscape. And if you study this diagram, it explains why multifunctional landscapes basically function to embed communities. You have the ecological component, the economic component, the social component, and all these are linked in many different ways. And this is just these are just hypothetical, but you can see how if you fulfill the natural sphere and the economic sphere, they're all linked to the social sphere, and that serves to embed communities in many ways. And that in turn enables communities to more effectively manage and monitor the natural resources and avoid a tragedy of the commons. So now we're going to look at an example of a multifunctional landscape, and this study was conducted in Seattle, Washington, and it's an urban forest. And urban forests are multifunctional landscapes that contain non-timber forest products that contribute to a variety of wild foods, medicines, and materials for the well-being of urban residents. And the investigators stated that gathering wild plants and fungi in urban forests is a livelihood practice that provides socio-cultural and material benefits to residents. It creates opportunities for connecting people to nature, and it also enhances social ties. The researchers basically found that urban gathering builds communities and maintains social ties. Also, interaction, which primarily occurs during procuring and processing wild goods, functions to open dialogue between strangers as well as strengthening existing relationships. The social connections and shared activities are part of what constitutes gatherers as a community of practice. One individual said that foraging is a sort of spiritual thing that draws to it the ceremony in picking, eating, and cleaning together. Getting together with friends and sharing knowledge, sharing the land and sharing your knowledge of the land, and working together just to sustain yourself and enjoy yourself. This statement underscores the importance of spiritual significance for some people. Throughout the course, we learned that social interaction is the central element of community, and also social bonds during gathering practices are developed. Therefore, urban forests serve to embed communities. The paper actually goes into more detail, and there's also additional case summaries that support multifunctional landscapes, but for the purpose of this presentation, that's all I'm going to talk about. And I appreciate you guys listening today. Thank you.